My name's Eli Delaney, and I have the honor of meeting some pretty cool people. These are the entrepreneurs, the artists, the creatives, the game changers that are making a positive impact in the people that they meet. And I'm a firm believer that the people that you meet can get you anywhere you want to go. And this show is my way of sharing them with you. It's my way of also helping you meet cool people. All right, welcome back, everybody. Eli here, and today my guest is Ron Snouffer, and I have the pleasure of working with him as a client. We have gotten to know each other really well, and he's an amazing dude, which is obviously why I wanted to bring him on here. Give you a little bit of history about him. He's over 20 years experience in residential and commercial construction. He's the owner of National Claims Negotiators, where they build a reputation on delivering exceptional roofing consulting services. In plain and simple, when your insurance company isn't being nice to you, he's the guy you want to call to make sure they take care of everything in the way they probably should. And of course, being in the DFW area, he has done some amazing stuff in helping people, especially in the natural disasters like hurricanes and tornadoes. So with that, Ron, thanks for coming and hanging out today.
Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward.
It's going to be a lot of fun, my friend. And the whole reason why I wanted to bring you in is because, you know, when I first learned what you guys do, I didn't even realize when you always think about, claims adjusters, you think about the insurance claims adjusters to come out and try to figure out how to short-term what you're going to get if something happens. And I wasn't really sure about that. And I didn't realize, oh, wait a minute, these guys are on the other side. They're negotiating for the homeowners or the building owners or whatever that is. And I was like, okay, didn't know this even existed before. And now that you and I've gotten to know each other for last couple of months, you have taught me so much about this industry. I really wanted to share what you do, and some of the stuff that you've taught me over these last few months with everybody else, because it's really cool stuff. So with that said, tell us a little bit more about how you got started in this. And I would love it if you would start with sharing the story that you shared with me on how you got into the public adjusting side.
So I guess we have to start at the real beginning, which was when I was with the insurance company. I was working catastrophic claims for them after Hurricane Ike. And during that short time that I worked for the insurance company, I realized that they really don't work for property owners. They work for the insurance company.
Mm-hmm.
If they can save the insurance company money, they're going to save the insurance company money. And so I switched to the other side, and I was a contractor for a few years. And then one of my friends, they got hit by a tornado in Arlington, Texas. Devastated their house. It ripped the roof right off their living room, dining room, kitchen, and 2-car garage. During that period of time, it was raining during the tornado. And so their house, which was built in the 80s, actually had a gradual slope to the back bedrooms. And so as it was raining in the big hole in the roof, all the water pooled to the back bedrooms of the house. And when the insurance company came out, they actually told them they had $38,000 worth of damage. Well, I had been in construction for 12 years at that point in time, rebuilt houses and ground up construction. And I knew what it was going to take to rebuild the house was around $250,000. And the insurance company said 38. And told my friend that I was ripping her off. And her next door neighbor had the same event happen to him, but the insurance company came out and wrote a check for $250,000 and had his house rebuilt. She spent about 9 months waiting to just interviewing people to try and figure out how to get the house rebuilt, and finally found a public adjuster that would help her out. At that point in time, he helped her get the house done. And I realized during that process that I really enjoyed that side of the business more than the construction side.
Right.
And so I went and got my PA license shortly after that. That was the last house I redid before I became a public adjuster.
Nice. Well, and I love that when you shared that story with me, that's one of the reasons I wanted you to share that, was because it was like, this is what, we don't even know what exists. The fact that, from the end user, like for me as a homeowner in that situation, it's like, we don't know what we don't know. And that's where somebody like you comes in, is like, okay, wait a minute. There's a whole lot more to this than people realize. And I loved it when you shared that story with me, because it's like, okay, this is the whole why you got started in it, which I think is great. And you've been doing this for over 12 years with this business, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. It's 13 years in January.
Nice. That is very cool. So now, fast forward a little bit, you have done such a great job of building your reputation that you're getting invited on a lot of shows to come in as like the expert in the industry now, aren't you?
Yeah, I've been on Fox News several times, CBS, NBC. In the last 6 months, I think I've been on 30 different broadcasts.
Right. Which is awesome. And it's, and I've seen some of those interviews. It's cool to see, so a lot of times business owners don't realize that it doesn't matter what industry you're in, media is looking for stuff like you. They're looking for experts in there. And you've done an amazing job of showcasing that, because I know, like I said, before I met you, I didn't even know people like you existed out there. And now I'm seeing all these media spots that you've been doing, is like, okay, well, that makes more sense. And so I love that. What has that done? What has that done for your business?
Well, when you have that level of expertise that the media has shown that you have, it makes it easier for me when I'm going in to meet with new clients, and or when I'm meeting with the other side, as
Mm-hmm.
far as their adjusters and so forth. It shows that I am the expert in the industry.
Right. And I love that. That's one of the things that's a lot of fun. And that I already talk about this. Is like, okay, get on more podcasts, get on shows, because anything like that puts you out there, it establishes you as an expert. And the cool thing about it, I was even just teaching somebody this, a group this morning, about podcasting, and even as a guest, things that you should be doing. And one of the things I talked about is, just by putting that out there, it creates content that you can share with people, and just say, hey, if you want to learn a little bit more about me, I did this interview, you should check it out. And you just send them a link to a podcast interview, or a radio or TV interview that you did. And what that does is that it's like, that's the, hey, this is why you should listen to me, without it making like, hey, I'm this expert and you have to follow every steps. It's like, no, I was on this show, you should check it out. It's much more casual in the conversation, and it's not as much in your face, but it establishes way more experience, much more credibility, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Very cool. Okay. Now, with all that said, let's talk a little bit about what should people be knowing when it comes to stuff. Like, I know, and again, I'm kind of coming from the place, because of working with you as a client, I'm now learning all these things that we should be doing, as whether we're the homeowner, we have investment properties, because I know you work with a lot of people that have investments, especially like apartment complexes and things like that as well. But even on the one-on-one basis, what are some of the things that we as property owners need to know, or need to be doing, that are going to help us not run into these situations where we have to really go to battle?
So the easiest places to start are know what's in your policy, or understand what's in your policy. One of the biggest things that we see on a regular basis is people not even knowing what their deductible is.
Mm-hmm.
So 20 years ago, a deductible was a simple thing. It was on your declaration page, and it told you you have a $500 or a 1% deductible, or whatever the case may be. Well, in today's market, you may have a 1% deductible on page one. And if you have a wind and hail event, you may have a 2% deductible. And if you have a hurricane event, you may have a 5% deductible. How many people have 5% of the reserves for their house when the average median house now is almost $500,000? That's 25 grand. They don't have that out of pocket in order to help them rebuild their house. So they need to know what those deductibles are, and they can change that based on what they pay on an annual basis. And it's really not that much more expensive to get a decreased deductible in today's market.
Got it. And that's one of the things, I think, for me, I am one of these people that I hate reading contracts. Doesn't matter. I hate reading contracts. I don't even I think when you and I, like when we do our contract, everything, I keep it as simple as possible because I don't want to read it. I don't know. I'm pretty sure most other people don't want to read it. But I think it is really important that we have somebody on our side that can help us kind of understand that. And I think that a lot of people, like even for myself, as you were talking about this, I realized that I know I have my car insurance and I have I personally have renter's insurance, but I haven't read the agreements of exactly what all is included. And it's one of those things that, yeah, we probably should be stopping and doing that at least once a year and figuring out what exactly everything is in there. So I love that you shared that. And that's a first thing. Now, one of the things you talk about, and again, because I have the advantage of working with you, you've talked about documenting everything.
Yes.
And so let's talk about that a little bit, because I think especially for homeowners, we don't think about making sure that we have things documented so we know ahead of time what the damage is. We're in the middle of, we get tornadoes and all that kind of fun stuff around here. Let's talk about the documenting stuff for a while.
So one of the easiest things for somebody to do is the cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
You can walk around your house and videotape what kind of condition your house is in. If you got carpet in the living room, if it's tile in the kitchen, if you have hardwood floors, the types of furniture you have, the types of TVs you have, so on and so forth. It's very easy to do. And because of the way technology is, that's stored forever in the cloud. So you're never going to lose that if you have a video of what your contents and what the inside of your house looks like. Secondly, you want to be able to document anything else that you have that's of significant importance to you. Maybe you have china that was given to you for your wedding, jewelry, so on and so forth. You want to be able to document those things. The documentation is extremely important because when the insurance company comes out and they say, oh, you didn't have a whatever pendant that you're claiming that you got on Valentine's Day, you have a picture of it. I got this. Here it is in my jewelry box. My jewelry box is gone now.
Okay. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and I do get that one, and that's one of the things I think from the internal, but even like on the outside, say for instance, if you got your house, like doing videos or pictures of your roof or your other buildings and stuff like that, that's just as important, isn't it?
It is. It's not just taking pictures and video in the inside. It's walking around the outside of your house and knowing what the condition it is. I'm not telling you to get on your roof. You don't need to get on your roof. You can video it from the ground. Let's stay safe, everybody. But you want to make sure that they know what the condition of your house was before whatever storm event happened. The same thing with your vehicle. You can take a picture of the outside of your vehicle before any occurrence happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you get hail that day or a tornado or a tree falls on it, they're not going to be able to say, well, that dent was there before.
Right. Which that actually leads me to another question I was already thinking. How often should you be doing this? Like how up to date do the pictures and videos need to be?
Maybe once or twice a year.
Okay.
Your spring cleaning, you can easily walk through the house in about 10 minutes and document everything.
Right. Nice. I love that. Okay. So this is really good stuff. I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about, as you've been growing the business, because you've done really well. And I know you shared with me that like the public adjuster industry, a lot of people don't do great as they're doing it. What was it like? You've been doing this for over 13 years now. What was it that, like, what's the biggest thing that you did that you think made a difference in you being able to not just survive for this long, because any business that sticks around for 13 years is considering a high feat in itself, but it's gotten you to thrive? What is it that's really been, I think, you're like the number one thing, especially early on?
I would say that, our first 2 years were very difficult trying to figure out what to do. There is no training in our industry.
Mm-hmm.
And once we figured out that having the right systems and processes in place and how to document everything, how to do a proper scope, how to do a proper estimate, how to acquire all the documentation, doing those step-by-step processes that just move the claim along, made made it that much easier for us to be successful.
Nice. I love it. And of course, you're talking systems and processes, which that's talking my language. I love it. Now, with that, as you've gone through, what are some of the things that have changed over the years that, again, going from just not just surviving to thriving, but what are some of the changes that have helped you evolve over the years?
Learning and adapting to what insurance companies give you. I mean, when I say what they give you, you have to understand that the insurance companies are in the business to make money. They're not in the business to pay claims. They used to be in the business to pay claims, and customer service was a big deal to them at one point in time. And it seems each year they're less and less likely to help out consumers.
Right.
I mean, just look at what happened in California recently. State Farm canceled insurance policies across the valley in October, and then the fires happened in January, and most of those people didn't have insurance or didn't have new insurance
Wow.
before their house was burned up.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a mess. Which actually, I mean, that's, one of the things you brought up with this, I think is really important for everybody is that you have to keep on top of things. And I think a lot of people in business, they learn, the skills. So maybe, and some people, they went to school for it. Some of it they learned on their own. They go through trades, whatever the industry is, everybody's a little bit different. But I think it's critical that we're always keeping up on what's going on in the world. What's the new, latest, greatest stuff? Not necessarily going after shiny objects, because, I'm definitely against that. But I think it's important for us to completely, I mean, keep learning, always be learning, right? I
Yeah,
mean, that's because I know you're very big into that.
we are. I mean, this industry is nowhere near what it was 13 years ago. It's a lot different. We used to take claims in the $5,000 to $10,000 range. Now there's no point in a public adjuster even attempting to take a claim like that, because insurance companies know that we're capped on what we can charge.
Mhm.
And so their objective nowadays is to see how much time a public adjuster can waste on a claim, and therefore reducing the amount that they actually get paid. And that's why, unfortunately, our industry has a very high turnover. About 70% of people don't make it 2 years in this industry.
Mhm.
And it's
Wow.
because they're taking claims they probably shouldn't take. We want to try and help as many people as we can, but
Mhm.
let's be honest. If you're not making any money, you can't pay the bills, and you're not going to stay in business.
Right. In that aspect, it's like when you get to that point, it's like if you're not making any money, you're not paying the bills, you're stressed out, you're not helping anybody else at that point.
No.
And I get that. Which I mean, that's a great it's a great way to stop and think about that because we know anybody in business, we want to help everybody, and we have a hard time turning down business. And this is across the board on any industry. Is especially when we're starting out, we don't want to turn anything down because we're afraid that may be the only thing we get. And maybe when you're first starting out, yeah, you need to take everything, but over time, you've got to start positioning yourself in that. And you've done a great job of that. You figured out how to completely change the conversation to where you're dealing with the much bigger projects, which I love that. And I think, what was it that got you over the mindset of that, of going after the bigger projects, the things that are going to step it up? Because like in my world, I come from the coaching speaking world. So people always talk about you got to have high ticket. And I know people who their version of high ticket is selling something that's $200, which is not, and so we have this whole different thing. From your point of view in what you're doing, what is it that gets your mindset different in being able to be confident to go after those higher ticket projects?
I think it's a level of experience that you acquire over time. I don't think you can just jump in and do a high ticket thing. But every year we try to increase the size of the claims that we did the prior year, and therefore you're doing bigger and bigger claims on a regular basis and trying to get to the next level. I mean, I recently talked to a contractor that was interviewing a number of different PAs for a claim that they had, and they're like, everybody that they had interviewed all said they were a large loss public adjuster, but not one of them had done $1 million claim at that point in time. I was like, that's almost our minimum.
Right. Yeah.
But we've come a long way from where we were before. And so it's just a different reality when you start thinking in that perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and one of the things like we'll give from a coaching standpoint, one of the bits of advice that I'll go with clients is, every year look at basically the bottom 10% of your clients, and those are the people you don't want moving forward.
Correct.
Yeah. And I think that's a good way that we always look at it, is like, okay, if you can step that and do 10% higher, but then the bottom percent, those are the people that you let go, it does change everything.
I grade everybody on an A, B, C level.
Okay.
A is the ones you want to keep and keep educating them to bring more business, and B is people that you're trying to get to the A process, and C are the ones that you're debating on whether you're keeping or if you think they might be a B at some point in time.
Right. I like that. Then you got the Fs, which are the ones you don't want to do anything with. You just get rid of them.
Yeah. And everybody talks about the fact that, and even we realize this over the long haul, the clients that need the most help, unfortunately, are the ones that after you do a good job for them, they're the ones that you have a 10% chance of never getting paid by. And so it's like, you help somebody out who needs the most help, but maybe can't afford to pay for your services. They probably shouldn't have hired you in the first place, and now they can't pay for your services.
Yeah. Been there, definitely been there before. And I think that's one of the things. How do you vet those kind of people? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
So we try and help everybody that we can, but we limit the amount of time that we help those people out. For instance, we will educate them on what they need to do in order to document their claim, but we're not going to help them do that. Does that make sense? I might spend 15, 20 minutes on the phone with them, telling them in their policy how they can go back to the insurance company and make them do what's right. But we're not going to take on the claim as far as going out and inspecting the property, document everything properly, and then spending the hours on the phone fighting back and forth with the insurance company. We'll let a property owner do that. We have a little checklist on things that we send out to property owners that they should always ask their insurance adjuster, and then we have a checklist on things that they should always ask their adjuster. There are 10 things that they should ask their agent and 10 things they should ask their adjuster. That way they know what's in their policy, and that way they know when they do have a claim where the adjuster is coming from. Because one of the things we see all the time on residential stuff is we only have $10,000 worth of mold coverage. Well, I understand that, but you have unlimited on your water coverage, and water is the causation for the mold, and that's what caused the mold. So a pipe breaks in the house, floods the house, and as they're cleaning up the house, they end up having mold after a few days in the house. Well, that $10,000 doesn't cover all the water damage. The water damage covers everything. And then if it goes over their policy limits, then they have additional coverage for that mold.
Got it. Okay. So
but the carrier will tell you only have $10,000 in coverage.
Right. So that's an interesting one, because it's more of the you don't know what you don't know kind of stuff, of people not realizing that's how you got it, but they word it differently, so it doesn't quite make it look good from your standpoint. And so thank you for bringing that up, because I think that's really, those are the kind of things. And again, like what you were saying at the beginning, is know your policy, read that, see what's in there. And get that kind of clarity. And you brought up something, and we're still going back to the as an entrepreneur and things that help us do better. I love the fact you said you've got these checklists that you're using, and anybody knows me knows I'm a big fan of checklists. And if you can give those kind of things out for those people that are not ready to work with you yet, it's such a powerful way to get them started, help them to some degree, just knowing that you're not going to be able to take on the project. And this goes for everybody. So I love that you're doing that, because for somebody who isn't ready, whether they don't have the money or they don't have a big enough claim that it's worth something you can do, you're still able to help them and point them in the right direction without it being like, oh, well, yeah, you're just not big enough for me. Bye-bye. It's a whole different creature. So I love that you're doing that.
Well, we still want to try and help those people. We're not saying that we don't want to help them. It's just this is our job,
Mm-hmm.
and this is how I make a living for my family, and I have to make a living for my family. I can't
Right.
Work for nothing.
Right. Well, yeah, and that's the way we should be. I mean, to be perfectly honest, that is the way we all should be. So let's talk about, you're also, one of the things that you've been launching is getting into helping other public adjusters grow their businesses as well, which I love that. And of course, now you're talking my language, is, helping coach and teach other people, which is where I love.
So, like I said, one of the things, I'm on the board for TAPIA, the Texas Association of Public Insurance Adjusters. I'm also on several committees with the National Association of Public Insurance Adjusters. And so I realize that a lot of public adjusters are not very successful, and there isn't great training on how to stay in business. There's some great training out there on how to learn how to pass the test, and maybe some contract stuff. But as far as being in the business of being a public adjuster, there is no training whatsoever. And I mean, this is a great industry to be in. You don't have to be college educated. You can learn the industry in a short period of time and make a great living at it if you understand the business basics of it.
Right. No, I love that. And that's one of the things that impressed me when you told me that, was that you were doing this stuff, is that you're not coming from a place of, I come from, in the coaching world, like coaches coaching coaches, right? Which is not necessarily the best business model, because I get a lot of people who just really don't know anything. You're coming from the place of, you've been doing this, you've got over a decade of experience, but not just a decade of experience, successfully growing the business, doing well, becoming the authority, becoming the top in your industry. And now you're coming out and teaching your processes and systems to other people. And I think it's such a powerful thing. And it is so many industries that I hear, like, even, I think, this, my daughter's a groomer, and she takes as many classes now on how to run a grooming business. She takes more of that than she does on how to groom. Like, she's been a groomer for, ages, but it's now she's like, okay, I want to know how to become a better business owner, how to become more profitable, how to provide a better service, all these other things that most people don't take the time to learn.
Mm-mm.
And I think that that's such a powerful thing when you can do that. And I love how you're doing it, because that's the part you're teaching them, is like, all right, you already got the training on what to do when you get on a roof. Now let's show you how to actually be profitable at this and actually run this like a real business and not a hobby, which I think is awesome.
So one of the funny things about this, going back to the size of the claims. So I was talking to a new public adjuster not too long ago, and he was talking about how his average claim is under $10,000. And so I was like, I understand, you're getting in the business, you're learning the business, so on and so forth. And he was taking on 3 or 4 claims a month, and his average payout was under $2,000 a month. So I asked him, well, what are your expenses on that $2,000? It's like, I don't have any expenses. I was like, do you not have an office? Well, yeah, but my office isn't that expensive. I pay $400 a month for it. I said, well, that's an expense.
Right.
What about your phones? Well, I just use my cell phone. Oh, okay. Well, how much is your cell phone? And he had no recollection. It was just,
Mm-hmm.
this is all stuff that he had or did before. So it's not like it cost him additional money. I was like, all that is business expense. And you need to figure out if that $2,000 is worth it. It's like, how do you get to the jobs?
Right.
How long are you driving there? How much does it cost you in gas? Had no idea.
Right. It's so funny how many people don't take any of that other stuff into consideration. And because it's like, oh, just but they're used to, if you think about it, so many people they come from traditional having a job background where you don't get paid for your car or the gas or like the meals while you're gone or any of that kind of stuff. And you realize, well, one way or another, you are paying for that stuff. And
Yeah.
those are things they're adding up and they're eating into the profitability. Yeah. So I love that. Anything else? Anything else? And we'll do both sides to this. Any last words related to one? Anything else somebody should do to prepare themselves to not get stuck in a bad situation? They've got a property, and maybe we're here in the DFW area. Tornado just takes your roof off, whatever. But what is something from that standpoint that anything else? Any last words you want to add to that? And then we'll go on to the business side.
So if somebody gets hit by a tornado, they probably need to bring in a public adjuster. The reason for that is those are complex claims. You're not just talking about something as simple as hail damage.
Mm-hmm.
When the insurance company comes out, uh, we know how they work. And I can attest to this. When I was working CAT claims, they gave me 100 files and told me to get them done in 30 days. So that's me working 14 to 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, nonstop. And every time I closed out a file, they gave me 2 more.
Right.
So I was working nonstop. And that's how all these other adjusters are working too. That they're swamped with work. They're trying to close out files as fast as they can. They don't get paid until they close out a file. And so the objective is to close out as many files as quick as possible as you can.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, that means they're overworked and overstressed and they overlook things. So in a complex claim, you're going to need your own person. It's like if the IRS was going to audit you, would you just go in and show up yourself, or would you bring in an expert to help you negotiate with the IRS? You'd bring in a CPA, somebody who can help you with that
Right.
situation.
Right. I
You
love
don't
that.
go into
Yeah.
a complex claim without help.
Yeah. No, good. And that's good advice in any kind of situation, but it's one of the things, again, people just don't even realize. A lot of people don't even realize that's an option for them. Okay. So let's switch it up on the entrepreneur standpoint, because you got both of these sides. I want to get you on both sides because you've done such a great job. Any last bits of wisdom for somebody who's in that entrepreneur space, especially if they're on the newer side?
So there is help. You need to ask. If you're not a part of an organization like Tapia or Napia, you need to join. That's how I learned to be better. I mean, like I said, the first 2 years were pretty rough for me. Then I joined Tapia and I got to meet a lot of mentors that gave me information on how to be successful. Um, I'm trying to speed that process up a little bit from my years of background, and we'll be coaching and mentoring a few people here in the not too distant future, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. I love it. And I do agree with that. You've got to get around people, and whether that be an association, or somebody who you can learn from, get that mentor, whatever, get around the other people that have already done what you want and help them out. So I love that. Awesome. Okay. We are at the end of the time here. So we got 2 final questions. Same 2 questions I ask everybody. Last one's the easy one. It's like, how do people get a hold of you? So before that, though, what I'd like to do is I'd like to ask you, what do the words meet cool people mean to you?
So it's a combination of meeting cool people and doing cool experiences. You know, uh, my life, I've been fortunate enough to do lots of cool things. I don't know if you can see behind me. I played in the Byron Nelson Pro-Am. Me and my wife are in a picture in front of Opus One in Napa Valley. Those are cool things. Um, I've got to meet all kinds of entrepreneurs across the country that I consider very cool people. I like being around cool, successful people and uh, getting to know what has made them successful. I mean, it's made me a better person and a better business owner because of it.
I love it. Awesome. Very cool. Okay. So the last one, here's a simple one. How do people get a hold of you?
The easiest way is probably to connect with me on LinkedIn. My name's Ron Snouffer. I connect with just about anybody on LinkedIn. I'm famous for I know a guy. I would say I've probably given away $1 billion worth of referrals in my history in as an entrepreneur. I know that just in my industry alone, I've done over $500 million because half the stuff I get is from referrals, and then I'm giving referrals back out. So I like networking with people. So LinkedIn is a great place to connect with me.
Awesome. And we'll be sure to put your LinkedIn in the show notes here. Awesome. All right. So with that, I think we are ready to wrap up. Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate you for coming and hanging out today and sharing some bits of wisdom with everybody.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, get out there. Have an amazing week. As always, if anything pops up I can help you with, reach out. Let me know. Take care.
My name's Eli Delaney, and I have the honor of meeting some pretty cool people. These are the entrepreneurs, the artists, the creatives, the game changers that are making a positive impact in the people that they meet. And I'm a firm believer that the people that you meet can get you anywhere you want to go. And this show is my way of sharing them with you. It's my way of also helping you meet cool people.